Okay, gentlemen, ladies, I would like to talk to you about local cloud. What do you expect from a local cloud? I think basically that your data is immediately available on your computer. I think that's one of the first definitions of a local cloud. And on your telephone, and backed up safely. Any changes or deletions anywhere on the connected devices are reflected on all collected devices. I think this is basically what we expect. Optionally, versions of previous changes are available. And what I've added is insight in the status of the synchronization state. So in other words, you can imagine if you first switch on your computer, there's been a lot of updates. You want to know if the info that you're going to use is correct. You want to be able to specify what should be in the cloud. I think this is the basic definition as I see it. I've copied this information, basically what Synology does with their Drive client. Or do you think there are other things that should be added? Anyone? That's the end of the day, I can see that. Okay. The local cloud program for ArcOS requires two things. It requires a NAS that you're going to have your local cloud on, and it has to be connected via Samba. So if you have a NAS and you connect to it with Samba, then this local cloud program should work.
You can also connect it via FTP.
Sure, but this program doesn't use FTP.
Yeah, but
it's possible.
You have an FTP program.
Yes, but this is a program
on ArcOS.
Correct.
And like File 0 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it works like that. Download, work.
Yes, but you have to initiate it, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's the difference. The idea behind this local cloud program is you switch on your computer and the data is in the same way as with Synology's Drive client on Windows or Ubuntu, that your files are available immediately, give or take a couple of hours. However, in order to access the cloud from your telephone,
mild, hot, or spicy?
Vindaloo is hot.
Hot, okay.
Sorry. Sorry, we were back. But in order to access the data on your telephone, you will have to be using one of the Synology applications or applications from QNAP for getting data from your telephone to your NAS. This software, as I said in my presentation this morning, is available from the supplier of your NAS. The local cloud application is basically a program to give the function to OS2 by using a NAS to store your cloud data. Basically, with this program, you're going to define the location of your cloud on your NAS and define which files you want to have in the cloud. Synchronize, therefore, with your NAS. When a local file is updated, it's synchronized with the NAS. Tell him it's Vindaloo. Sorry. Again, if the file is updated on the NAS from another system, that file also should be updated on your local system. The latest version should be then available. With this program, multiple PCs can be connected to the... It's great, isn't it? That's not my stomach, guys. I know you're hungry as well, but thank you. This is a presentation with problems, isn't it? Okay, multiple OS2 PCs can be connected to your NAS, and all that data should then be synchronized with each other automatically. That is basically what's going to happen with this program. I'm currently developing this program, so as soon as it is available, it will be both by Hobbes and also in the web shop by Arkanoa. I still have to discuss with Lewis, but he will say yes.
If it works.
Guarantee to the door, you know that. But I wonder, should this utility or application also include a file backup facility? What is your thoughts on this? Or is that superfluous? You already have backup programs. Tell me, do you think I should include it or not?
But you have mentioned versions. Don't you have?
There's versioning also, but that's not backup. Huh?
How much work, extra work, would it be to include the backup facility?
Not quite sure. I've been working on this on and off since Christmas, if you like.
Because if it's not much work, I think it should have a backup facility.
That means that the files on your system will be back up to the NAS,
Right.
not NAS to something else.
No.
Okay.
System.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Because in that case, you would have two things.
Yes.
You can synchronize, and also you can have backup of your system.
Take a pro version.
What would be a reasonable price for only the cloud function? What would you be prepared to pay? Gentlemen, tell me. 100 euros? 50 euros?
How many hours have you worked?
Well, since Christmas, so it's I wouldn't like to count the number of lines and the cents you make per line, but what do you think is a reasonable price?
Well,
Okay, what do you pay for it?
this is a commercial view.
Yeah.
Is that you have, if you have a lot of people to sell it to, I think 35 euros would be okay. But if it's a small people,
yeah,
I think that around 100 to 125 would be a fair price, I think.
Okay,
that's
your opinion. How many people would be prepared to pay 100 euros for it?
What's the exchange rate, you said?
Say $100. Yeah.
Not Canadian.
Before Trump, anything. No, but seriously, would anybody buy it?
I would buy it for 100.
Okay. How many would buy it for 50?
Probably.
Okay, I think we've settled the price. But you write software,
yeah,
and you do it mainly for yourself, and it's nice if you can sell it, make people a little bit happy and feel rewarded.
Yes.
And then if I add the backup, okay, but we see about that, but just an idea. With this software, basically I've allocated 8 different locations to be specified as a local cloud. This means on one NAS you can separate things into 8 different items. So if, for example, you had a number of PCs connected, you do not have to put everything in the same cloud. At this moment in time, any number of files may be specified and saved and synchronized to one local cloud location. Just basically the amount of room you have on the NAS and so on. There is, of course, the overhead, because the system has to check regularly, has anything been updated? And that's one of the things I need to find out, how much the overhead is going to cost with regards to system degradation, because it's using CPU time. As I said before, multiple OS2 clients can be connected, and the local cloud will synchronize all of them. At this moment in time, specific files can be either added by selecting by a simple name or a directory or wildcard. I think this covers most things. But if you have ideas, I'm willing to listen. Since most NASes do not directly support extended attributes, these are automatically handled in this system by splitting up EAs and putting them in separate files. Coming back to your from your NAS to your local system, it recombines them in the same way as the EA utility does. This is what the local 8 clouds look like. You see a box with 8 names, which you specify saying where the local cloud is. In this case, I've only used the top 2. And it checks, of course, that these clouds do exist. Initially, it will also check that the clouds are empty. If already you have one PC connected to the NAS, the next one you will connect does not ask about the files in the NAS, in the cloud, because they will be transferred to that machine. Files that are deleted will optionally remain either undeleted in the cloud, if you want that, or files that are deleted in the local cloud may optionally also be deleted locally. So you can say, for example, on my machine, if I delete something, okay, not everybody will have that file deleted. That is an option in the system.
But in that case, the next time it's synchronized, won't it get the file back again?
No, there's an option, deleted. If I delete locally, the files are still on the NAS. Everybody else can still see those files,
But,
if I want.
But your problem knows that in that machine, it was deleted locally.
Yes.
So it won't synchronize. It's like
Correct.
It's synchronized, but it's deleted.
Yes. This option Drive client also has. One of the reasons I put it in. Whether you use it or not, that's, purely up to you. When a file is updated, the previous version may also be saved in the local cloud if required as a version. So for example, this is more if you're doing programs. You have a version of a particular program and you change it. The old version is still available, the sort of versioning you have with programming in the cloud. Because I don't know what happens with you guys, but if I'm programming, all of a sudden what worked 3 weeks ago doesn't work anymore, and I can at least go back and find out what happened. But there will be a maximum of 60 versions supplied, Could be less, could be more, but 60 is going to be more than anything anybody needs, I think. Rather like somebody said 640K was enough, right? Sometime. One of the points when you're starting up a system, what you want is that everything is insulated from network weights. If you start up a network inquiry and the network is not available, you don't want your system to hang or the program to hang waiting for it. So everything is insulated from system network delays by being in separate threads. The local cloud program, when starting automatically, can wait a specific amount of time on certain network drives which you can program. I have, for example, when I start my system up at home, the local network is there, but before Samba starts up, as logged in, that takes a number of seconds. I don't want a program that's going to give me a problem every time that happens. So you can program a minimum delay. As soon as he finds the connection, it makes the connection and the program continues. This is the main script. It's pretty similar to a directory listing in what do we call this? The view details view mode. The only difference is there are a couple of extra fields. The file icon you also see, of course, in the normal directory details listing. The file name, the real name, file date and time. This information is the standard information you get, and including the file size and the file attributes. There is some extra info. The extra, oh, this is going funny. Okay. So the extra information you get is which cloud ID each file belongs to. So you know what is going to be synchronized where. The synchronization field also gives you the state of the file, how it is synchronized. For example, if it's been deleted. So you know the file is deleted, maybe on the NAS depending on your settings, but it's not available to you. If the status is unknown, for example, as the system first starts up and starts checking the files, it doesn't know the status of the file. Is it available or not? When the file is being synchronized, you get a rotating synchronization symbol. When it's synchronized, you get a tick, so you know that's up to date. If for any reason there is an error or a warning, you get a warning sign. This warning sign would happen, for example, if you start up and the network address for the cloud after the timeout has not been available. So you know something's wrong. I want to check with Rich Walsh to maybe get this warning in the icons that you have in the X workplace. At the bottom you have the icons of the applications that are running. I don't know if that's possible, but it will give you a feedback because mainly this program will be running detached. In other words, minimalized. So you won't get any information unless you look at it. So that's something I'm trying to find out with Steve if that's possible. You have a similar sort of thing in Windows, you know?
I think you can update the program in the icon because that's.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's dynamic in the taskbar, yeah. But that's something we'll work on. Otherwise, you just give a flash message or something. Oh, that's a rotation. No, it does actually rotate.
It's
not the icon in the taskbar, but if you create a widget, you could add
You need
the window, the icon, the symbol in the taskbar. If you if the icon for in the taskbar itself is static or can be changed and updated, probably you could create a widget and which has the ability to update its content. So
that's
you can see something like that.
That's the other sort of idea, but that is something that won't be in the first version.
Okay, that's good. But
it's a good idea.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. We have 5 main menus: Files, Setting, Help, Action, and Undo. We have 5 submenus. We have add a file to the synchronization list, remove a file from the synchronization list, a log to show what's happening, close, which is basically to stop the program, but saving all application data, and the exit, emergency if you like, to stop the current situation without saving. The settings menu, that just opens your settings notebook. An undo menu when you've added files or deleted them as to what you're going to be using. And if you've deleted them, say, no, I should have left it there, just use the undo menu, which works. 2 basic, undo everything or undo the last. This is working. Currently, I'm using only 8 undo actions. It can be increased, but we'll see how it all works. The show connected network display is basically allows you to see what networks are connected to which cloud ID. In this way, you have an idea of what the, I heard music as well. It basically, I think it's the car, just basically gives you an idea what is connected to what. It gives you a little bit more information than the fact we have a cloud and something's connected to it. So what you see is the cloud ID, and you then get the network address of the items connected to that cloud. And in this case, the top one is 1. In the second case, there are a couple of users connected to the second cloud ID. So this basically means you can see what other users may be accessing the cloud. This is basically what the local cloud program will be. I can give a small demo if people are interested apart. Some of it works. It's always difficult to demonstrate a network type of program, but I can show a couple of things what it looks like. Any questions? Oh.
You're only making it work for those 2 systems?
Yes, it's only for, because you have a similar function in the Drive client, for example, from Synology for Ubuntu and for Windows. So why do it for anything? It's just basically to give you the same functionality that data from your NAS is automatically available on your local system.
So you can intermix that with
sure.
other systems.
Yeah.
Also a question, sometimes your local PC runs out of disk space and you need temporary more space for something, and you do not want to delete the file really and have it only on your cloud, but don't get it back because it doesn't
fit
back. You probably would want to need have something kind of function like hiding or taking it offline from your PC.
Oh,
still,
yeah. I understand what you say. Well,
get it synced back if you re-enable it.
Yes, yes. Basically, what you're doing is then you're saying this is available on the NAS, but I haven't synchronized it. Well, that may be an option I can add. You know,
Pretty similar to that delete function.
Uh,
You're essentially excluding the file.
yes, yes. But then you have to, yeah. It is in some respects the same. Yes.
A question, kind of related to you said having the local cloud and the Synology drive pointing to the same files in the same location on the NAS, so that we can access the same things from our phone or from our OS. I'm wondering a little about those extended attribute files. Are those going to be sitting like plugging up the directory, or?
The extended attributes are basically put into a separate file in the same way as the EA utility splits.
Yeah.
Because some NASs I know do support extended attributes. I test for that. If it doesn't have support for extended, then you get the file name with a special extension. That is the standard EA utility format, which means if you pull it from another system, you can also pull the EAs down and you can combine them.
Right. Just a little concerned because a lot of files have EAs that are frankly useless anyway.
True.
And I don't necessarily want to. It is often a bit frustrating when I'm looking at a directory that's say on a local file system that doesn't support EAs, and I've been using some utility that splits them like that. It is quite frustrating to have to wade through like all of these dozens of .EA files.
That can be made as an option to either include them or not. That's very simple to do.
Another question.
Another good idea, you know.
You said it can detect whether the file system supports the EAs.
Yeah.
Can it detect whether it supports EAs up to a certain size? Because some file systems support EAs up to about 4K, but not larger.
No, but well, of course, on OS2 it's only 64, right?
Yeah, I think XFS supports up to 4.
Well, okay. What my documentation says 64, but
no, OS2 does.
Yes.
But some file non-OS2 file systems do support them, but not that much, not that large.
Well, that's a possibility, but basically what I do is I write an EA to the file system and then I read it back. Doesn't always generate an error, but if I don't get back the same information, then I say it doesn't work. Simple. But yeah, so if necessary, I could add an option for large EA supports, for example, something like that. Yeah. It's good ideas, guys. That's why I'm here, to get more money.
Someone in the OS2, German OS2 community who has massive problems with Samba because he uses PMU, and PMU probably has generated
a lot of EAs.
Image bitmap EAs for fast display and other icons, and this leads to crashes with Samba, and it might be some way in this bug where it's probably up to 4K minus something like directory info or whatever, something. So the good one option, it could be disabled.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I like to get feedback from people that say, well, this is a problem, can we solve it? Because if I don't know of the problem, I'll never solve it. And basically, I'm writing this program because I wanted this function. And this is the reason I've written a lot of programs. And it's the same reason I think Alex and everybody writes a program. I have a problem, there's no solution, so I have to do it myself. And my point was I would like to have a local cloud, because I don't like going, oh yes, I have to go and get it from the NAS again, you know? and then,
I have two suggestions.
yes.
First off, the file for the extended attributes, why not make it a dot file that's normally hidden?
Oh, we can hide it. That's not a problem.
Because
I mean, you
if
mean
like a
because
file-
Unix, the dot files are hidden. Yeah.
You can like your file.jpg and
Yeah,
make
good idea.
.jpeg.ea, then you can call that directly. But if you make it .ea.file.jpg,
Yeah, yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. But what I wanted is anyway that the EAs is in a standard file that, if necessary, you can get it back and combine it. You don't want it some esoteric.
But since
System.
the tools can pull the files in, that's easy to do. Second suggestion, like someone said about big files, for example, ignore those icon previews. Don't store them.
Well, I think there are two ways would be to go on this. The first would be to exclude certain types on EA names. The others would be to exclude EAs on a certain size, if that's doable.
I think there are certain EAs you probably would want to exclude. Sorry. I think there probably are certain EAs you would want to exclude, at least by default. The thumbnail one is one. Possibly some of those GIDs, other things that the KLC writes.
Yeah, but they're pretty small anyway. So
they're pretty small, but I mean, it's again, if you don't need or want those EAs, why even create the .ea file for them?
Well, sometimes it's simpler just to add a couple of extra bytes than to try and split them out, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem with saying, well, maybe we don't use them, it's always the one that comes and bites you when you try to restore it that doesn't work.
Or have a configurable blacklist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, put it in. Yeah, good idea. Again.
For the first suggestion, probably have a hidden directory for the EAs, and then normal EA, the normal file names. Because it's only one entry, and then the whole bunch of
Yes, well, what
EAs
is basically what was said there, and in Linux, if you have a dot something, it's hidden by default. So at least your directory listing looks the same. But if you know, if I'm doing something manually, then I have to take the dot file as well. But that could be made options, you know. And Glenn.
All right, so and I'm going to preface this by saying this was absolutely decades ago.
Yeah.
But this was OS2, and I seem to recall that there were certain situations where you would have file systems that couldn't read the EA, or it was too short, and it would give you a message that says, hey, you know what? I can't read the EA. I'm just gonna, too bad.
Yeah. Well,
It's gone.
yeah. Well, the way I'm handling it is to make a special file, and the name length is whatever is basically the name of the file, of course, with an extension or a dot at the front, something like that. So that should not be a problem. But like everything, there are always situations which don't work. I know, and as soon as we can define them, we can work around them.
Yeah, well, my suggestion would be, we understand there's gonna be exceptions to the rule. And to simply, you display an error or something, and then you give the opportunity to, go ahead, okay, I understand the error, or, okay, don't do this.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about a system which is continually doing the same thing over and over again. And I don't know if you've ever run into a system that gives you an error and you can't press the key quick enough to get through all the errors, I understand.
Yeah, have you looked at Windows?
Now I've looked at some of my programming errors where it keeps coming back and saying that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Please help. Any other questions?
These options we are talking about.
Yes.
should be configured for each of your 8
Yes.
synchronized
Yes.
directories differently, because
Yes.
you might have for some directory these
Yes.
options, and
Yes.
for other directions the other.
What I will do, let's have a look, rather like this sort of idea, you have then your ID, and then you have the exceptions which you can add per ID. That would be the way to go, I think. Have you noted all the things I have to do, Jeroen?
It's in
No.
the video.
It's in my video. I have to read my video, look at my video. Come on. You promised, yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will stop. And if anyone wants to have a look at the program, which I can't show directly, I will be pleased to show it. Thank you. Thank you all for the feedback. These are gems, because, you know, you tend to make stuff and then somebody says, have you thought of that? No, indeed. Okay, thank you very much.
Another question. What happens if you click on that button that says close?
Oh, just close the.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What happens? I'll show you. That.
Oh, it came back again.
Okay.